Well guys, I did it. I made it to the end of my very first year as a real estate agent, and today I wanted to share with you kind of my journey over the last 12 months, as well as some successes, some losses, and just my general thoughts about the last 12 months as a licensed real estate agent. So let's get into it. Thank you all for tuning into my video today. For those who haven't met me yet, my name is Brock.Bremmer and I'm a licensed real estate agent here in San Antonio, Texas. And I am sharing my journey with you as a new agent, as well as sharing any tips and knowledge that I have to help you if you're looking to buy, or sell, or invest in real estate here in San Antonio, Texas. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like the video so that I know you're watching and getting some value out of the videos. I'd also love to hear any comments you have, so don't forget to drop those along the way. Now let's get into the last 12 months of my life as a licensed real estate agent. So in October of 2020, I decided to go ahead and make the jump and get my real estate license. I had already been in real estate as an investor and owned a couple of properties, but I decided to make that jump into the real estate world, get my license so that I could help other families. Now, when I first got my license, during the first 8 months of having it, I was actually working a full-time job in cybersecurity. If you'd like to hear part of that story, I'll link it in the card above. But it took me only 8 months to decide to go ahead and quit the full-time job as a cybersecurity professional and jump full force into the real estate world. So during this time as a new agent, while still working full-time, I was learning the ropes as a real estate agent. I was attending trainings and live classes on the weekends and in the evenings, and I was just learning everything I could from all the mentors and everyone available here at EXP. It's been a blessing to kind of learn all kinds of viewpoints and all different kinds of strategies, what worked for different agents, and kind of just figure out my own path as a brand new agent. So that's kind of what we're going to get into here in a little bit further detail here shortly. But I wanted to start with some of the mistakes that I made. So believe it or not, the very first buyer's appointment that I had, it was about an hour and 15 minutes away from me, and I was about 35 minutes getting to this appointment. I remember calling up my mentor and telling him that I was about to go to this appointment, and I was getting some documents ready. I was trying to get that buyer's representation agreement together and get it all squared away, and that caused me to be late. But on top of that, at that exact day and point in time, I was actually working my full-time job, so I had to coordinate with my coworkers and manager at the time so I could try to go out to this appointment. And I ended up getting there about 35 minutes late. These weren't clients of mine at the time, but they were aiming to be, and they ended up not working with me shortly after that. So that was probably my first mistake, was I was not on time for an appointment. So from then on, I learned that I needed to really schedule out some time and be prompt and on time for all of my appointments for any future clients and customers that I was going to work with down the road. Another one of the mistakes I had was not creating enough leads, right? So as a realtor, we have to constantly be creating leads and finding people to work with us and to work with so that we can help them accomplish their goals. So that first 8 months of me working in a full-time job kind of prevented me from being out there doing open houses, going to builders and speaking to anyone that wanted to talk to me in the real estate world. So generating leads was tough at the beginning, but once I went full-time, it was a little bit easier to focus some time on making cold calls, visiting people, whether it be a builder or something. You know, it was just easier once I left the full-time job. I didn't have that 40-hour commitment during the week, so I was actually able to get out there and meet more people. Now, two other mistakes I'm going to touch on real quickly was working with some investors. Now, I'm an investor myself, and I love working with investors, but I did come across a couple of new investors that had this bright-eyed, bushy tail that, you know, had the world of investments in front of them and thought they were going to make it big. And I hope that they do, but I was kind of spinning my wheels, doing a lot of work while I was still working at the full-time job. I was spending a lot of time outside of those hours trying to do some research for them, get them to properties, pulling up comps, pulling up all kinds of information for them, only for them to not really act upon any of it in the end of the day. I know, you know, as an investor, you've got to find the best deal for you, but there was a lot of work and they weren't really committing and not making fair offers on properties that we were seeing. So I ended up having to cut ties with a couple of investors along the way, but that was a learning experience to not work with brand new investors. I will definitely love to work with you if you're an investor, but please have some experience on your belt. That's kind of what I like working with. Another and the final mistake I'm going to cover is the follow-up, right? I've heard the whole time that the money as a real estate agent is in the follow-up, and that was something that I didn't really, and that's something I kind of lacked on myself as a realtor this time. Is there was lots of leads and clients that I was working with, And then due to my lack of follow-up because of the full-time job, or just, there's a couple that I actually just kind of forgot about, unfortunately, but because of not following up, I lost them. So because I didn't follow up, I probably lost about 12 to 15 deals this year alone. So that was a considerable chunk of business that I did lose, but it is a learning experience that I'm taking forward and trying to better myself on, is to follow up in a more effective manner. So I kind of went over the mistakes that I've made, but what have I done that's actually done pretty well? Well, let me cover my numbers for you real quick. So over the last 12 months, I actually closed 9 transactions total, which is fairly good for a new agent, I would say. 3 of those were actually completed before I left my full-time job. So I was actually able to help a few clients while I was working the full-time job, which was fantastic. So with these 9 transactions that I had, I actually closed about 2.57 million in volume, which is actually quite impressive from what I've heard from experienced agents. So that was a great goal of mine, but my overall income from all of that was only $34,000 in commissions that I brought home. So it wasn't a lot. A lot of those commissions that I earned from helping those families out was less than the 3% that most agents use to calculate their total income from the commission. So I probably had 2 to 3 deals that were at 1.5%, and I think one of them might actually have been like 1.25%. But something is better than nothing, and I was still able to help some families get into some great homes. So definitely thankful for the opportunity to help those families out along the way. In addition to receiving some lower commissions on some of the transactions I closed, most of my business actually came from referrals from other agents within the brokerage. So I paid out a lot of referral fees to those agents for making that connection for me and helping me grow my business. So had I organically gathered those leads, I would have kept, an extra 20 to 30% per transaction, depending on what I agreed upon with that specific agent. One thing that I think has been very impactful and helpful is the fact that I'm with Exp Realty. There's so much training available at Exp. It's kind of ridiculous that you can't even get to it all. There's over 80 hours of live training every week that's put on by the staff and other agents in our virtual office. But on top of that, a lot of the mentors that I have and a lot of the people I've surrounded myself with offer so much more training in addition to that there's probably another 15 to 20 hours of training outside of the EXP curriculum that is offered. So there's so many training opportunities available that I've been able to learn quite a bit from multiple different agents, and it's just been incredible. So if that's something that you're interested, that your brokerage isn't currently offering, definitely drop a comment or send me an email. Let's get connected and see if maybe this is something for you. Another thing that I thought was helpful was the collaborations. So with our virtual office and all of our online collaboration tools that we have to communicate as agents, it's been helpful to be able to communicate with agents across the country and just really learn their insights. On top of this, I was actually able to go to a non-EXP sponsored event. It was actually an event put on by other agents within the brokerage, but there I was able to meet so many top producing agents from across the country that are within our brokerage. And they shared so much information during that 3 or 4 day period that I was able to kind of grow my business from there and be even more motivated than I already was. So that was a very helpful and impactful trip that I had there, and getting to meet a lot of people from across the brokerage. So there you have it, folks. That was my first year wrapped up in a tiny nutshell there. It was a very productive year, and I'm looking forward to at least tripling my production levels for this next 12 months that I have ahead of me. So there you have it, folks. That was my first 12 months as a licensed agent, wrapped up in a very small nutshell there. If you thought it was useful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to share my journey as a real estate agent, and a new one at that, with you all, so you can kind of see my journey, and I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Also, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep watching my videos as they come out. Thanks for tuning in.